Again, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight to our third town hall meeting to District 3. And our idea was to, when I took office, I wanted to be able to every month come around to a different district and be able to have a town hall to allow you, the people, to be able to come out, again, meet your elected officials, talk about what's going on in our county, allow your magistrate to talk to you, and then, most importantly, talk about what's interesting to you, what are your issues, what are your concerns, and then try to get those answers back. Now, what I would ask is, and we're going to send a sign-in sheet, or sign-up sheet, however you want to put it, to everybody. If you could please fill that out with your information. And, one of the things that I'd like to say is that everybody that asks a question, if we can't give you the answer here tonight, we will get that answer back to you within a reasonable time frame, probably a week and a half. Okay, we'll do the best we can to get that information back out to you as soon as we can. Because I think it's important that if you ask a question, I should be able to give you an answer. It may not be the answer you want to hear, but it will be to the best of our ability what we're able to do from the county and what we can. All right, so I'm never going to tell you something I can't do, but I want to make sure that that information comes out. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce some people that are here. Again, what makes up your fiscal court is myself, the judge, and then we have our magistrates, and we have some of our magistrates here tonight. So I'll ask that they'll raise their hand. There's only one that's on the block, and that's your favorite, Billy Sibes. All right, so and then we have Tom Goddard is here. Tom is in the back. And then we have Gary Chapman. There's Gary. And then we have Steve Woodrup. And Steve, if you're ready. So again, I really appreciate our magistrates coming out. Again, some of these issues that we talk about are common throughout our county, and then there's other ones that are very specific to your district. What we have found is that certain issues are very important to some districts, and some that it doesn't even meet the I care. So that's what this is all about, is about giving us more information. What I also want to do is go through the different departments of fiscal court. And so you have planning and zoning, and I have Guy Garcia representing planning and zoning, and he's in the back. I've got addressing. We've got emergency management. We have ambulance services, animal control, parks and recreation, road department, 911 dispatch, and then also solid waste and recycling. And so those are all the different departments that fiscal court oversees and is a part of your facilities. The next fiscal court meeting our fiscal court meetings are held on the second Tuesday of every month. They start at 7 o'clock, and all are welcome. If you have any issues or concerns, you can bring them up right in the beginning. I give everybody an opportunity to talk about those, and then we get into the business of what fiscal court has to see. Again, all are welcome, and I normally try to keep it open about a half hour after close, whatever time that may be. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. But we get the business done that we need to the great support of all of our magistrates. Now I'd like to introduce some of our elected officials, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them talk a little bit about what they do, what their jobs are as your elected officials and what their departments do. First one I want to introduce is our county attorney, Sydney Durham.
Is it on? Okay. My name is Sydney Smith Durham. I'm your county attorney. I took office January 1st. Being here in Flaherty is really close to my heart. I was married in St. Martin's Church, and I had my wedding showers, and we've had all of our family functions right here at the firehouse. If you knew Buzzo Lancaster, that was my grandpa. I'm sure many of you all knew him. I considered him the unofficial mayor of Flaherty. My mom, Sandy Lancaster Smith, was born and raised here. The county attorney's office, we wear a lot of different hats. We do child support enforcement. We do prosecution of criminal and juvenile cases, and then we have the other side where we represent the county in various ways. So we have kind of a civil side and a criminal side. Last year, we were one of the top 5 underfunded offices from the state of Kentucky for our criminal side, so we did get some more funding, which we really needed. We were kind of understaffed there. And then with our county side, our fiscal court is really helpful to us, so I feel like we're able to serve in that capacity as we should. One of my goals was to really participate with all the departments and make myself available to everyone. I've kind of been telling everybody at every one of these town halls, people have said, Sydney, why is your door locked? COVID is over. And I'm like, I wish my door was locked because of COVID. It is locked because we've gotten various threats. That's just the nature of criminal prosecution. So for right now, until we can kind of get some more safety measures, my door is locked and you come and you call, and then we kind of come outside and help you. And if you have a business and we feel like you're safe, we bring you into our lobby. The fiscal court generously allowed us to move at the top of the old health department because that was kind of downsized. We have so much more space now. We were kind of crammed into the courthouse, but then that kind of posed some new safety and security issues. So just because my door is locked, I don't want you to feel like we're not available to you. And of course, you can schedule an appointment with me. That's what I've been doing a lot since January, is just answering the phone, talking to people, and scheduling appointments to kind of hear your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sydney. And then we have our PBA, Gabe Chapman.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gabe Chapman. I'm your newly elected PVA. I started December 5th. Previously, I was a math teacher. I did that for 17 years, and being in the PVA office has been a welcome change where I can serve my community in a different way. A few of the things I wanted to point out to you tonight, and I have some handouts over here on the table, and before you leave, maybe grab one of those. But I wanted to kind of give you an outline of some of the sales over the last several years in this county. On that, it has the frequencies of sales by month. It also has the median sales, and from that you can kind of see how, as we all know, we're living in a crazy time with inflation and the housing market the way it is. In our office, our primary responsibility is to assess the value of property and assess things at 100% fair market value. So we primarily use sales to help guide our assessments. The second thing I like this area to know is that you guys are up for reassessment this year. That's but I wanted you to know, the previous PVA, she worked to set up a quad plan, and once every 4 years, a quadrant of the county is reassessed. And the last time you guys were reassessed was 2019. So I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking you all. It's part of the plan. And mid-April, you'll receive a reassessment letter showing your assessment and what you can do to reach out to the office if you feel like your assessment was unfair, or if you want to maybe make sure everything's accurate. We want to make sure everything is fair and as accurate as possible, so reach out to our office if you have questions about that reassessment. Also on this handout, it shows that reassessment area, and pretty much everything south of Highway 60 is up for reassessment. Currently, our field staff is working in the quadrant that will be reassessed next year. That's in green on that map. That includes Doe Valley and Rock Haven and Weldon and most of along 1638. A third thing I'd like you guys to help me out with, one of the good things our office offers is the homestead exemption. And, a lot of people, we had last month after the town hall meeting, we had someone stop in. They specifically said that someone told them that they heard at a meeting about the homestead exemption, and we were able to sign them up for the disability exemption. And what that does is it reduces the value of your property, or it reduces the assessed value about $46,350. So that saves you roughly $500 in taxes. We had a gentleman just today come in, and he's been fully disabled for 15 to 20 years, and he had just recently heard about the homestead exemption, and he's missed out on that opportunity. You know, one of the good things Miss Richardson had done is she would send out birthday letters to everyone when they turned 65. And I reached out to her and asked her, you know, how did you get that list of those turning 65? And what she would do is she would get the voter registration, and they would provide those names and those turning 65 that year. So we continued that work. We sent out letters in late January, and we've had a lot of people sign up for that exemption. But the bad part of that is if we have someone moved in and they're older than 65, they don't get a letter from us. So it relies on them being informed in other ways, and that's what we're trying to increase, that communication to people. But I'll be here. You know, if you have any questions or anything you want me to know, our office doors are open currently, and you know, just reach out to our staff and let us know what we can do to serve you and do a good job for you. Thank you all.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thank you so much. And then, last but not least, Billy Sipes.
So, magistrate, some people says, well, what do you do? So we do a lot. Like, I mean, it's from the dog barking across the street to the pothole to the road sign that's been missing. I mean, you name it, we get the calls. Now, we try to do all we can to get that issue, but that isn't really our, in a sense, that really isn't our job. It is, but it ain't. It's some stuff through the system we took on to do to serve the people better. But, you know, we actually, you know, if the judge has got something he brings up, all of us magistrates sit up there, we look at it, we ask questions, we vote on it, and that's how things get passed. The money, the budget through the county, we all sit down. Tammy does a good job putting that together for us, and she brings it, and we'll have actually that's coming up, right? Starts tomorrow. And then we'll go through all that and see where the money's being spent. And it's your all's taxpayers' money. That is our main job, is the taxpayers' money be spent well and used well. And it does, you know, like we get numerous phone calls. The other magistrates here tell you too. I mean, you know, my neighbor's playing music too loud. All right, well, we'll try to direct them in the right direction to the right people. You know, I can't just go knock on the door and tell him to turn his music down. Same thing with the dog. Our job is we try to just send the people in the right direction to get the right answers. So, like I said, my telephone number, most of y'all got it here. And if y'all got any complaints, I love getting them. So, just, I mean, hey, I've got 3 today. Just keep coming on. So, a lot of people that are here might say, well, what's going on? You know, we do got road issues, okay? I mean, the roads up here are pretty bad, and they are through the whole county, okay? And we're in the process of working on those now. Rabbit Run is a state road. It is on the books to get repaved, okay? That isn't nothing we got to do. That state level is doing it, but it is terribly rough, you know. I had a guy that ripped me out because he was eating a candy bar, and he hit them daggum holes down there, and the candy bar fell and hit the floorboard. He wanted me buying a new one. So it was easy for me just buying a new one, candy bar, and it was to hear the complaint. So, but long story short, things are getting worked on. Some people think it should happen quicker than anything. One thing I do want to say, if you are burning anything, okay, and I am guilty of this. So the other night I was out in our field and I was burning where some of the debris had washed up. I'd lit it on fire. I didn't think a lot about it out in a wide open field, right? Well, my neighbor decided to do the same thing. So all of our smoke happened to drift to 313. Well, Mr. Roger come and see me with flashing lights and bells and whistles, and we got everything straightened out. I won't do that again. I'll call 911 and just tell them what I'm doing. But I think, you know, communication is probably the key. You know, if I would have just reached out and dialed 911, told them, look, I'm doing a controlled burn, Roger wouldn't have come and seen me. So, look, I even make mistakes, okay? So, thank you, Roger. So, if y'all need anything else, I'll be here after it's over. And another thing on these town halls, I thought when Troy was running, he brought this town hall thing. I said, this is the biggest daggum joke I've ever seen in my life. I said, what's this guy even thinking? I said, is this military stuff or what? But I'm going to be honest with you, this thing is good. Like, I've got really good feedback out of these things. Hey, can't underestimate him. So, thank you all.
Thanks, Billy.
I'm going to go ahead. Oops. Let me, I'm going to save that. Let you have that. Yeah. Okay, yeah, there's coffee and water in the back if anybody needs any. I am going to be sipping on mine, not to be disrespectful, but I have a cold, so my mouth is drying out real fast. So, but please feel free to get up and get whatever you need. You know, I want to also bring everybody up to speed on some other things, and this information is on the front table. I'd like to thank Tammy and Vicki for coming up. They work in the office, Judge Executive's office, and they're a wealth of information too. So, you know, everybody here can answer a question. We just need to know what your question is. But, you know, one of the things that we found that we had a problem with, and it was really identified during our water crisis on December 23rd when a lot of our county was turned off. And what we determined out of that was there was actually two things. So yes, the county did run out of water, okay? And we have one water source that comes through Flaherty pump house. And the bottom line is if you'll think of that being a house spigot, if you turn that off, nobody in the county gets any water. So that's a critical infrastructure problem that we're currently working on. But the other part of that was a communication issue. And the communication issue was we were not able to get the right information out to the people that were affected in the right period of time. And so one of those areas that we evaluated, you know, with the water company was trying to get as many people a part of Code Red, okay, that allows us to be able to get, they can take the system, they can, if you want to say, they can puck it. Okay, and they'll draw a circle around anybody that's affected, and then that information that is either given to us by emergency services, by the water company, whatever we need to get out, will go to your phone. Okay, and you'll get that data, whether it's a water, you know, boil alert or whatever needs to go out, but it will only go to the affected people that are in that area, and I think that's extremely important. You know, to get information out, information is key. And a lot of problems that we had during that was people just didn't know. And so they would have been able to plan better if they had known that their water was being turned off. Obviously, there's things that you can do. But that was something that we're trying to work on. So if you're not, or you know that your neighbors are not a part of Code Red, the information is up on the table. Another area that we're always kind of trying to present to everyone is that we've got a number of jobs that are open in the county, and I'm just going to go through some of them. Seasonal labor, parks and concession workers, road department. We've got deputy jailer that's currently out, one paramedic, solid waste laborers and solid waste manager, and then also full-time grant writer. And those are all being advertised right now for hire. So if you know anybody that might be able to apply for those, please send them our way, because the better we can fill those positions, the better we can take care of our county. Another one is Meade County Recycling. I didn't know this before I came into the office, but it's really I think it's really interesting. One is that our county runs a regional recycling area. All right, so we get the recycling from a number of different other counties. They bring their trash, if you want to say, but recycling trash, and then they bring it to us, and then we actually go ahead and we sell that. And the county makes dollars from that, and that goes back into our fund, so we're able to fund other things. The neat part about that is that it's really easy to do. And another area, and we're going to be highlighting this here probably in the middle of the month, is we just received and are putting in operation our glass compactor. Okay, so what this does is it will grind glass up into almost sand. And so we can use that sand for the road department. We can actually use that sand for pools. It grinds it up that much. So again, that's an area that we did not have the recycling capability to do before, and now we're going to be able to do that. And so we can grind that up into different components. It's pretty neat, and I think you all need to be proud about what our waste management is doing, because they're really doing a Herculean job and really managing those assets very well. What I want to get into next is I'm going to kind of walk through some things. So this is what I found in my first 2.5 months of being your judge executive. So it's only been 2.5 months. It seems like it's been a year. But we're really busy, and I appreciate that. And I have great staff, Tammy and Vicky, that keep me straight. And I ask a lot of questions, and there's a lot of things that we're looking at. But here are some of the things that I just kind of want to go over so that you know a little bit about what we're doing in the judge executive's office. So one, I met with all the departments. And, within my first week, I tried to go around to each one of our directors that I read off, and I tried to find out what are they doing? What's their job? I wanted to go out to them because I believe on, if you want to say from military terms, by the way, I was in the military for 37 years, so if I talk a little military lingo, that's why. But, I always believe in eyes on target. In other words, going down and seeing what it is that people are doing. Walking through what they're doing and seeing how they're working. I think it's important because then when they talk to me, then I can actually have an understanding of what they're doing, what their job is and what they're working with. So I did all that, and I also asked, again, what are their shortfalls? And so we got each one of those departments. They gave me what their critical shortages are. I hope that some of these will be brought up during their budget because some of them did have to do with money. But that's okay. I mean, it's a part of information, and communication is absolutely key, so that I know what their issues are, and then I may be able to address them accordingly to get them the resourcing that they may or may not have. And so I can't expect somebody to do something with nothing. I've got to be able to give them the resources that they need to be successful, or I've got to reduce the expectations of what they can do. And so I wanted to let you all know that I did do that, and we've been going through some of those departments and trying to help them to become better than what they currently are. We established these town halls. We started this within the first month that I took office, and we started with District 1 down in Muldrow, and we had District 2 last month, and now District 3. And I will tell you, something for you to be proud of. This is the most participation that we've had from our citizens, since we've started this. And what I will tell you that each and every one that we have, I mean, you could fill up this room and it wouldn't make me happy enough because it means that you're involved. The whole part of this process is to allow people to know what's going on with your government. Hold me accountable. Hold us accountable. And a part of that is you all have to show us your voice. You got to be able to talk. It's a two-way street when we come to communication. It's not all just about what we think. It's about what is important to you, the citizens. You're the ones that elected us. So if we're not following what you believe is right, then we need to know about that. And in this town hall, this opportunity gives us that ability to know what thoughts are on your mind. So again, I can't thank everybody enough for coming. The next one is I met with all of our mayors. And that's been an interesting process. I found out that, cities are actually pretty special when you look at the county. I can't go into the city and tell the city what to do. But the city can tell me what they need. It's kind of like a one-way street. And that's okay, because I will tell you, that relationships are everything. And by going out and meeting with those mayors, we've had a lot of great discussions, and with the magistrates, and what we're doing is we're finding the common ground where we can work together. And then it's also important for us as the county to know what they're short and how we can work with them to try to because, oh, by the way, they're all voters. They all fall in, they're all Meade counties, whether they're in the city or they're in the county. So it is important for us to be able to come together and be able to pool our resources so that we meet the requirements of our citizens all the way throughout all of Meade County. And great meetings with all our mayors. Now this is one that probably is going to interest just a couple in the room, is our granary. And I will tell you that our granary, I've been working this now with Billy Sipes and Gary, and we've had many, many meetings. What I will tell you is that we're closer than ever. We have taken this, I think, across the goal line. I really believe we're getting very close to where we're able to come to an agreement with the company that will be leasing. And so that's a good thing for Meade County. That's a good thing for all of our counties around this area. So that, we cut that distance and that time that farmers have to take their product to market. Okay, and we're able to get that product there. So it cuts down not only the distance, the time driving, the distance, the maintenance costs, and all those associated things, because we have a granary that's here close to Meade County, because it will be across the river, but it's a joint project between us and Harrison County. And so I will tell you that I'm very, very excited about where we're at with it. I can't give you more information on it, just kind of what I think, but I have a question.
This is the kind of facility that puts on the barges?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So Billy, did you want to, probably a little bit more about this than I do.
The grain onto the barges for shipping down there.
Yeah, so the product, you want me to take a stab at it? And then you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
All right. So the granary would be right on the other side where we're proposing it, is right on the other side of the bridge. Okay? So the granary itself is in Indiana. The barges, okay, where the trolley will go out to, I think that's the lay, will go out. The barges are actually in Kentucky waters. Okay, so it is a joint state effort. The granary, the way it's set up is you'll have a weigh-in scale coming in. You'll have a dump for multiple different products, and then you'll have a weigh-out scale. So you'll never cross traffic going in and out. That's different than what our former granary was. So that makes it a lot more effective, more efficient, and allows farmers to get in and get out faster. Okay. The other aspect of this is that the silos are going to be smaller because they're going to have the barges on site to be able to process and then push out to the barges. And so those barges will be moved out as soon as, and other ones will be in replacement. So I think from a total operational standpoint, it's a lot more effective, more efficient, and it will save time for everyone. Did I miss out on anything? You know a little bit more about this.
So a lot of people may not understand. So we had a granary in Meade County before Nucor, okay? And it was all in, and a lot of us in there has heard it 100 times. Some of us don't even know it, and maybe you're one of them. So we had a granary in Meade County. So when Nucor come along, they bought the property, okay? Them and Nucor and Consolidated Grain and Barge went into an agreement. They got paid to pretty much leave, so to speak. They were going to relocate. That deal fell through. So at the time, we were all sitting there looking at each other, well, how could this happen? Because all the farmers come back on us. Well, it's your fault. You voted for Nucor, okay? Nucor is not a bad thing for Meade County. It's actually going to be a great thing, okay? But the granary, going back to the granary, it was a service we had in Meade County before Nucor. So we made a commitment, all the magistrates, and when the judge come on board, it was even his vision. It was a service we had before Nucor, and we're going to get one back because it was a service we had, and we felt like we owed it to the citizens of Meade County and surrounding counties, because we had people coming from Tennessee bringing grain to Meade County because it was quicker for them to get from there to here than it was to go to Owensboro or Jeffersonville, so to speak. So just not the local farmers only use this granary. And what that does is if they stop and get fuel in Brandenburg or wherever they do, it does put put money back in the economy. They might stop and get something to eat. They might stop out here at the store if they're going up 1,600. So it just helps the cash flow going through the county. So this is a commitment that we decided that we was going to get a granary back. And since he's stepped foot in the office, I mean, he's not let off the gas none. He's kind of pushed us a little bit more. So
Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
this is a good thing for Meade County, and I truly believe in everything that we're doing. It's a better granary than what we had before. It actually has a, and correct me if I'm wrong, it has a, it's not the hopper, it's the dryer, which we did not have before. And that allows us to be able to take the grain in and store it longer, okay, so that it can be transported at a later date. Like I said, from the designs of it, and Gary, you're an expert on this too, so I'm not looking past you, I'm looking at you. If I'm missing something, please tell me. But again, what this allows us to do is this is allow us to process faster, more effectively, and more efficiently, okay, was exactly what we want to design. And I think we're going to get that. And we're rolling down it's on track and it's where it needs to be. So, have any questions on the granary right now?
You're actually working with two different.
If you have a question, I'd ask that you use the microphone, please.
Grain was a Yugo,
Right.
and I say consolidated barge and grain, they were like driving a Yugo, and ADM, Archer Daniel Midland, is like driving a Cadillac. They're a whole different company.
Absolutely.
They've got a lot broader respect for grain, so there's a whole difference there.
Absolutely. And everything about this is good. And again, we're asking the right questions, and again, it's a positive approach. Everybody's on board, we're getting close. Yes, sir.
Well, I've been a cop a long time. The bridge,
Yes, sir.
it's not very wide. It's an old bridge. If we looking forward to get maybe some state and federal money, maybe make improvements on that bridge. New one, wider one, whatever.
You ain't there yet. But it's a good question. It's a good point.
Right?
And what I would say is, another area that I'm going to be talking about here very quickly is the comprehensive plan. And that is a part of the comprehensive plan. And how do we improve our infrastructure, okay, to meet the requirements of Meade County, not just for right now, okay, not for 2030, but 2040, 2050. Okay, and so we need to look at all of our infrastructure and what that supports, from our road networks, okay, to our water system, okay, there's just a lot into that plan. Parks and recreation, I mean, all the services that I laid out all have to be looked at from a futuristic position, and where do we want to be in 2040? If our population continues to grow, just for everybody's information, we are over 30,000. Okay, and I will tell you that's a good thing. Okay, it's put our county in a different position than it was when we were below 30,000. The state looks at us differently now that we're above 30,000. So there is positive in everything that we look at. But a part of that is looking at our short-term, our short-term or our immediate problems. Okay, and coming up with long-term solutions. And that's what that comprehensive plan is about. Not looking at our immediate problems and coming up with short-term problems that are, solutions that are going to create bigger problems in the future. And so that's a large portion of what that comprehensive plan does. And I'll give you some highway updates on where we're at with that, because we've gotten some pretty significant state projects that are on their way. Any other questions in reference to the granary? Great topic. Thank you so much for the questions. Another one, maybe not as near and dear to your hearts, but water. It was a near and dear effort for a lot of our Meade County citizens away from Flaherty, because they actually did lose water. And so I talked to you about two areas that were a problem. One, the water, okay, and then two, communication. I think we've done a real good job working with the water company, Meade County Water, in order to solve the communication issue, and that's key. Okay, but one of the areas, and this is a long-term approach that we have to look at, is how do we improve the water system in Meade County? And so just so everybody knew, because I did not know this, okay, but we are actually a puller. Okay, so we buy all of our water from Hardin County, who gets their water from both Hardin County and then also Louisville. All of the water in Meade County goes through one pump station. It's here in Flaherty. Okay, so if that pump station shuts down, nobody in Meade County gets any water. It's here someplace. I'm not sure where. He knows. He's your magistrate.
It's right up the road here on 313, off to the side between 313 and 144, right up here. I'm pretty sure that would be the main. which I'm not on the water board, so don't
Right.
don't call me tomorrow and say you was wrong, because but he is right. So, and what happened is the water tanks got low,
Right.
and ultimately it just ran out. Everything run out, and they just couldn't, with everything, the weather and everything else, they just couldn't get them filled back up quick enough for the supply. A lot people had their faucets on, was part of the
Right.
problem, because they didn't want the water lines freezing, so it was using more than normal, and
They just couldn't catch up. Now, there's some significant issues when you look at and you go past that pump house, okay? And some of those issues are, so from here to 60, it's a 12-inch pipe, okay? Then once you get past 60, it goes to a 10-inch pipe. And then before you hit the Garrett water tower, because there's 3 water towers that we get our water from, okay, it goes to an 8-inch pipe. So the problem is you can increase the pressure all you want to, but at the end of the day, 8 inches is only going to pump so much water into that tank. Okay, so that's an area that was identified that we need to, that the water company has to adjust. Okay, and we've got a request for money. Another one is there's no backup system. Okay, so in other words, like I said, if you turn off that pump, just think of that spigot on the outside. When you turn it on, water comes out. You turn it off, no water comes out. So that pump house is that dramatic. It is a single point of failure. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to put reliability into the system. Okay, so a backup. So another area that the water company is looking for, and they've requested for money, is to go ahead and put in another pump station in Muldrow and come up 1638 that would be able to run additional water into about 2 million gallons worth. This is a 2 million gallons, so it would bring us up to 4 million gallons possibly. Okay, now, if Meade County's population is growing, we want to even look out further in the future. And so what I've proposed and by the way, I'm not because I'm really bright. I mean, this is something that our water district manager also agrees on. I brought it up. He says, absolutely, because it was on top of his mind. But we need to become a producer of water. Okay, Meade County needs to produce our own water. And so eventually we need to get a water plant. Okay, and where that water plant should probably be at, it should be down where is it? Near the Battletown area. And the reason why is because we'd be able to pump from the river, underneath the river. We put our wells underneath, which is a self-siphoning area. A lot of places do that. And then we pump that water up to a water tank up on top of the hill. It's the highest place in Meade County, so we allow the pressure to do the work. So it's pretty interesting. I've learned more about water in 2.5 months than I ever dreamed possible. Okay? But, it's all part of the plan. And so part of me representing you is to understand what's actually going on. And so I've had to become really good at talking about water. Okay? Because the other part that we owe is we owe a bill. Okay? We owe a bill to our state over what that's going to cost. And we're talking about the millions of dollars. But not pieces of the bill. We need to come up with a consolidated bill that says everything that we need, and by the way, this is how far we're looking out. So now our great representatives like Nancy Tate and Steve Meredith can go to bat for us up in Frankfurt. But they've got to know what that plan is. And that's what we owe, and that's what we're working with the water company. I've been working with the water company. Our water board is working to come up with, is what is that total bill? And then another part that's really important to me, and I think it's important to everybody in Meade County, is being able to get the water to every citizen, because we're short right now. Okay, we don't have water that runs out. When you get in the area where I am in Painville, I mean, we've got a lot of people still on cisterns. And we've got failed wells. When I say failed wells, it's wells with sulfur. My well had black ooze coming out of it. I mean, not anything I want to drink. So I had at least a fortunate bet I could run and I could connect to county water, but a lot of our citizens out in that area don't even have that opportunity because it's not close enough to them. So that's another part of that water bill. And so what I've asked for the water company to do is to come up with what is that consolidated bill, because we need to be able to put that into our comprehensive plan over what we believe our county should look like, as I said, in 2040, with the backdrop of 2050, to increase the population, to look at what that population drive is, so that we can actually meet those requirements and we're not chasing like what we've been doing. It's about getting out in front. And the only way we can get out in front is we've got to get the resourcing from our government, okay? And we're a little bit behind. But that's okay. We're catching up fast. So does anybody have any questions on water?
I have a question on what an issue related to water.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a density of population being created in Meade County, and it's obvious, particularly to folks that are from Flaherty area. As we become a more densely populated county, we're going to have wastewater problems.
Right.
And those wastewater problems, I've seen it in our Hardin County neighbors, and our Bullitt County neighbors. Failed wastewater treatment plants. We don't have wastewater treatment plants.
That's correct.
What, is that part of the comprehensive plan?
That is also part of the comprehensive plan. Again, when we look at some of, and I've got Guy Garcia in the back, and he knows this thing like the back of his hand. But, you know, when we look at our industrial corridors, okay, where we expect population growth to be at, it's down 313. It's also up 1638. And so what we would do is look at, right now, the only sewage plant that we have is actually part of the city of Brandon. Okay, now we from Meade County, we own part of that. Okay, but it's also an expansion that we need to go ahead and look at, and how do we get sewer down and or connect into Hardin County, okay, and be able to feed into their wastewater plant, okay, which they have a couple of. I think I saw a hand raised. Okay. Chief.
My question has to do with fire service. Are they going to change the size of the end of the lines out further in our area, okay? Where we've got hydrants on 2 and 4-inch lines. Don't do it for us.
And I think the answer to your question, Chief, is it's dependent on whether they run a larger size pipe. Because my understanding is if it's a 4-inch pipe, it's not going to feed you enough water anyway. So the pipe, it's not just a matter of the hydrant that comes out of the ground, because you can connect wherever you want to, but if you don't have the water source, it kind of goes into that pressure issue. You can only get so much water through 4-inch line or an 8-inch line. So I know some of the areas that they're increasing the water, and that's one of the things I guess I can, we can ask that question, as they go through and they do the improvements, because they are in an improvement program. So one of those things that they're talking also about doing here at the pump station here is increasing the pressure, and the way they would do that is that they've got a pump on water that would actually increase the pressure to push more water through. At the same time, though, when they do that, they're also going to have to make sure that they clog up all the leaks, because when you put extreme pressure onto those, it's going to create blowouts. And so it's better to get those blowouts, though, before you need them. Okay, and then they kind of walk through, and then they'll determine which pipes, how to run those pipes. So I don't have a total definitive answer for you that yes, everyone's going to be increased, but I do know if it's a 4-inch, 4-inch ain't going to make it. All right, so, and there's not really anything we can do unless they run a new pipeline through, and obviously there's expenses that go along with that. Kind of answered around about, yeah, no, I didn't really, but yeah, anyway. I appreciate you. And I think that's a question that we need to answer. And I can bring that up to the water board, and I'll try to get a more definitive answer on where they plan on, because it might be a matter of where those hydrants are located based off where the new lines come in, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does. Well, I know down at the Ag Center, right there on 60, they run a 2-inch line underneath the road to a fill hydrant. You're talking stuff that's highly flammable, and it's got a 2-inch line feed.
Right. It doesn't do anything. You're pumping more water out than actually you're feeding in the truck. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but what I would like to see, though, maybe is a hydrant that's in an area where you'd be able to maybe go and backfill, your pump truck instead of having to go to a lake or something like that to pull out.
Well, we can fill up all hydrants, but it just takes a while.
Right.
Depending on where we're at.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Water, there we go. Joe.
Judge Koch, it sounds like you've got a problem with the Meade County Water District in that they need to have a comprehensive look at all the problem, and it has to do with pump stations. It has to do with size of lines,
Right.
distribution, and of course the fact is that we don't have any sourcing here in the county. I went to the last Meade County Water District Board meeting. I was the only one there. I was surprised at that. I thought there would be more of the county there, but there was not. I discussed with them the opportunity to put a water treatment facility on Doe Valley Lake. They seemed to look at me like I was talking about Chinese or something. I don't get it. I mean, we need to have a source of water. My question to you is, does the Meade County Water District, are they interested in sourcing water in Meade County?
My understanding is yes. Now, what that sourcing is, I can't answer that because I'm not the Meade County Water Board.
Obviously, you've got the long-term solution.
Right.
And that's but we should all not, we shouldn't delude ourselves. That is long-term. We're talking probably, I don't know, did $40 million, $60 million to do something
I
down
don't
the
have
river?
the total number up, but yes, it's
Who knows?
high.
It's a very high number, and it's something that, for us to be able to justify that, a lot of people in the state are going to question our need for that. And my point is that we have an opportunity to essentially source a great deal of the county's water right out of Doe Valley Lake at the same time while we're still purchasing water from Hardin number 1.
Right.
And because we need to upgrade a lot of towers, we need to upgrade a lot of our transmission lines. There's a lot that needs to be upgraded. I got a sense from them they were not interested in. They wanted to spend $15 million to get water from Louisville. They wanted to do that because I guess the state has already told them that they've got half the money set aside for them. They're focused on that as a solution, but what about the rest of the stuff that's the problem? I think that they're not focused on that at all.
Well, I'll have to ask that question, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. But that's about the best answer I can give you on that. I know that they're looking at I do know that they're looking at different options, okay? And then there are some that are state funded, and then there's other ones that may not be. What I do know is that the water company doesn't make a large profit margin. So everything they go into, basically they have to put in not a grant, but what is it, Tammy, on when they put in it's not a grant. Yeah, they would have to put in we were just talking about it earlier. No, yeah, what they have to do is they have to put in for a loan, okay? It's not a bill. Bond issue, right? They have to bond everything. And so they'll put out bonds that, however long based off the money they have to the money that they don't. Then the state also resources them with money that comes down from the state. We've received a lot of that money through ARPA funding, where they've received money that's been pushed down it comes through the county and it goes out to them. So there's different resourcing that, in fact, they've just got resourced, but all their money has to come from the state. They don't necessarily have anything unless they go out for a bond. So that's where it's really important that whatever plan they have, that they actually lay the plan out and show it as a project, and they lay it out as futuristic projects. Because when those requirements come down and they say, okay, you've got $2 million, we've got to be able to go back to an older project to be able to say that's already had they've already gone and done the estimates on, they've looked at how much, of course it might be 2 years old, it's going to be more expensive, but they have to refer back to a project. So anyway, that's kind of some of the things also that I found. It wasn't a matter of, I want this the way I want it, it's a matter, it's already got to been looked at. And so there is a lot of planning that goes into it, but I do know that they're looking at different resources, okay? We did talk about the comprehensive plan. And so the comprehensive plan is one that I've tasked planning and zoning to get involved with, to reopen. Our last comprehensive plan was signed off and as of 2021. okay, and it was projecting for 2030, as I think is the far out date that we're looking. When I've looked through the comprehensive plan, it's a good plan. Okay, it was written very well, but it needs to have realistic goals. Okay, we need to put those short-term, intermediate, long-term goals into effect. Then they need to be, as I would say, they need to all come together and support one another. Okay, so that we achieve our ultimate goals of where do we want Meade County to be in 2040, 2045. Because if we don't put out those plans and look at that from a population growth, from a traffic growth, from a housing growth and those things, we're not going to be prepared and we're running behind again. We're chasing. And we've got to get out, where we had this large company come into Meade County called Nucor, which is a good thing, but we're behind. And so we've got to make those dollars up. We've got to make those resourcing up throughout a period of time. And it's about us going to the state and bringing up those issues, where we are. I know in a lot of the meetings that I've had with our ad agency that represents us, we've talked about, how we have to come together from the Lincoln Trail ad. And we need to come together and we need to be pushing our legislators to go ahead and get the resourcing because they've said that we're a highly developing area. Well, we've not seen the resourcing come down in all that we need. And so we need to keep on doing that, to include water. Roads is another one. Okay, and those are areas that are really big when we look at a lot of our county roads, they're behind. They're not wide enough. Our tractor, our farm equipment's bigger than it was before. And so we see a lot of safety issues that come up, where, in some cases, you actually have to pull off the road because the piece of equipment coming down the road, you can't get behind. You pull off on the safe shoulder. That's the other part is shoulders. So we got a lot of roads that don't have shoulders. So it's not an option whether you want to get off. You might have to back up. We want to be able to take care of that. And it all takes planning and it takes the time to go out there and identify that. And so, when we look at roads and how we want to approach roads, we're going to be getting with each one of our magistrates and our road department foreman is going to be getting with them and helping them to go through to understand what it is they're looking at. And then each one of the magistrates is going to go through and they're going to prioritize their roads based off of the different criteria that we look at from the state. Where does our money need to go? How do we take care of this road when it's an extreme safety problem? And then one of the other areas that I'm becoming more familiar with is there's a lot of grant money. Okay, there's an enormous amount of grant money. And so we've asked fiscal court, and fiscal court has agreed to go ahead and hire a grant writer because we're missing a lot of money that we haven't been able to put in for. It's just a real Herculean effort. But we're moving in the right direction. And so there's also a lot of road grants. I talked with our road foreman, and there's another one with chipped rubber, and the federal side will go ahead and they'll pay for a mile of this experimental road, and then we have to pay for the other mile. And it's a grant. But it's a mile that we don't have to pay for that's, oh, by the way, it's asphalt in its own right. It's just a matter of it's an experimental product.
May I ask about a different road that you issued?
Sure.
313.
Yes.
313.
Yes, ma'am.
We have, it's great road. And people drive it like it's an interstate. It's got a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on it. I drive it twice a day, every weekday, going from here to Bullitt County to road. And the way that people drive that road is literally killing people.
Right. You're correct.
Sheriff Wimpy and his people can't cover all the streets and roads in Meade County. Have we asked state police to come in and enforce? Because if you cross the Hardin County line, from the Hardin County line all the way up to where 313 hits 65, various Hardin County agencies and state police are patrolling and
Right.
State road.
Right. I know I've seen state police on that road, but to answer a little bit more on the road from the road department side, is there is a project that's it's in a system called SHIFT, and we've got 4 major projects for Meade County with state roads. One of them is the widening of 313 up to Highway 60, and what they'll do is from Hardin County up to 60, they'll do passing lanes. So a mile will be opened up on one side for passing lane, and then it'll shift over to the other side.
That's years down the road. I'm talking about right now.
Judge.
Go ahead.
So before, on our last budget, so the sheriff's department didn't have enough money to put any more deputies on staff. They just couldn't afford it. So us as court, we voted to fund 2 more deputies, okay? In the last week, about this time of the day, if you're out on 313, they have been working. I mean, I've got a farm right down the road here that I'm at every evening. They have been writing a lot of tickets. Somebody questioned me the other day, said, where's these 2 deputies that y'all hired? I said, well, if you go out and drive 313, and let me tell you how I know they're doing their job. We leave the barn down there the other night. My wife's on her way home. She gets pulled over. Guess what she's doing? Speeding. So it is better, okay? Like I said, and the thing is, hey, I called her, I said, what in the heck are you doing? She goes, I was going 59. I said, the speed limit's 55. He gave her a warning, and then everybody said, well, you're a magistrate. That's why she got out of it. So now it's me again. But no, they are out there working, okay, those 2 deputies. But it's the shifts.
I'm asking the judge if he has called the captain and posted over.
No, I have not. And that's
So
that's
So
really not my
Officer
department.
Wimpy,
Patrolling 313.
so there has been a couple state troopers, okay?
Right.
And it all falls in how the shifts follow. You may not see them because it's the time you're going through. I may see them because I'm along the road more. But it's not like one guy can sit out there for 24 hours straight. So they're on shifts. And it may work out where this state trooper does it this week at this certain time, okay? Then he's going into Hardin County or Brecken or wherever his district, so to speak, is running. So
Do we have more people, more KSP units working our part of 313 now than we did a year ago?
Ma'am, I can't answer that question. But I will get it from Sheriff Wimpy, who is the one that would coordinate all that action.
And Sydney, don't mean to put you on the spot, but when those tickets come through, would you make them pay fines and not, we've got to slow people down. It's got to stop.
So, Susan, I did ask Detective Connor when I first took office. I said, and I work with him a lot. He's the detective on the sheriff's department. He does an amazing job. But I said, I've been wanting to ask this question because I worked in Grayson County, and I saw a lot more of a state police presence there. And I said, what's going on? I don't see a state police presence here. And I think the answer has been, in the past, maybe a rub between a former sheriff and the state police. And I said, that's something that I would like the deputies to facilitate, because we need to have more of a relationship with KSP, because I saw them. Is that 65 between E-Town and Grayson County? Bluegrass. Okay. I was assistant county attorney there, and I did criminal court there, and they were there every week. And he said, multiples. And Detective Connor, luckily for us, he's former military, and he's worked with KSP a lot because he's been on the Hardin County departments before he came to us. And he told me that he would work on talking to KSP and getting more of a presence in Meade County. And Susan, that we do our traffic safety diversion program. And one of the things that I'm seeing more often than I feel like I've seen in the past is those 26 overs. I feel like, and you're right, every time I drive down 313, I'm getting passed. And I'm like, you people are driving like lunatics. And we've had a lot of speeding tickets too, through the road. And you know, I'm pretty directionally challenged, but the road that goes to Newcore, I've seen a lot of tickets from there. So that yes.
Speeding, no signals, every imaginable traffic violation.
I agree with you, and I did spot the lack of KSP. That was something that I have been concerned about all along. But I thought our ticket situation the first month I was in office and the few months I worked before then was pretty typical. But I'll tell you that I have noticed a huge hike, and it's probably because we've had more deputies on the road. But I think everybody that drives 313 is concerned of people passing you at 80 miles an hour. So I do think that that's something that we need to spend more time on.
And like I said, I'll get with the sheriff to the best of my ability. Yes, ma'am.
This kind of goes on with 313. I know it's not a county thing, it's a state thing, but I guess you're the man who can contact the State Highway Department of Transportation. They need to get a signal light at 60 that is dedicated left turn signal. I sat there the other day through 3 green lights because the traffic coming off of 313 coming towards Flaherty was so thick. I had to sit there because I couldn't turn. I'm not turning on a red light to get in my car yet because somebody's going to be coming down that hill running that red light. And they need to get a traffic light there, just left turn signal. I mean, because you can sit there forever and never turn unless you turn on a red light to get through the intersection.
So this issue, which the judge will work on it, this issue has been brought up over the last couple of years, exactly what you're talking about. There's been multiple wrecks there.
Oh, yeah.
But the state will evaluate that, and they'll come back. I hate to say it, it's hard to get anything done at the state, okay? If it's the county, we got a whole lot more leverage. But at the state, it's just, they look at us as Meade County. That's just how it is. And as far as the Kentucky State Police, we go to a lot of conferences and training, okay? Their numbers are exceptionally low. I mean, who wants that job right now? I mean, honestly, like their numbers, and the judge even tell you the last one we went, it wasn't the last one, maybe the one before, their numbers are really low right now.
Right.
It's just hard to get anybody hired to want to take that job just because, I mean, just look at the news, you know? So, I mean, if we just respect those people, look, if they pull you over and tell you to put your hands out the window, you better put your hands out the window, okay? I got another story another day for that one, but anyway. So,
The way,
no, it was me that
hey,
time.
when I get pulled over, it's sir. I don't care if he's a private, sergeant, captain, whatever. It's always been
Are we
sir.
on?
That's the way I was
Well,
brought
I've been a
up.
policeman all my life. And the most important thing you can do, especially at night, is turn on your dome light. Keep your hands at 11 and 3. Eyes forward. And do what the nice policeman informs you to do. If he's disrespectful or nasty, don't start. Don't get in on it. Make your complaint to the appropriate authorities. He has a boss. He's got a lieutenant. He's got a captain. He's got a colonel. In a big department like Louisville. If they're nasty, you go up the chain of command, you hang them out to dry. But they shouldn't be. And they should pleasantly and respectfully inform you why they stopped you, what they need from you, and what's going to happen to you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I'll look into that, Susan. I appreciate you bringing that up. Not one that I have ever answered before, so I didn't have the immediate response. And
There's nothing negative about Sheriff doing the job he's doing. I've talked to folks about this situation. I know they're doing everything that they can. Every time I see emergency lights on that road and I see them, I live where I can see that road. I see them all too often. Whatever we can do, we do.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And there's a couple other roads that are up that are actually from the state, and I'll go over them real quick. I'm going to answer your question first.
It's not only 313, it's traffic through Flaherty. The main highway through town, it's a drag strip. I live just over the hill, and they come up through there at 60, 70, 80 mile an hour. I mean, so traffic in Flaherty is just, it's ridiculous. They speed through town like I see in Indianapolis.
Right. Well, now, so part of our problem is we only have so many police officers. You know, it's, you know, I mean, that's easier to say, but from a funding perspective, we don't have the resources to do that yet.
And a lot of it is, Howard, is what you're bringing up is true, because, you know, coming out of Big Springs or 1600, all this ties into 313, okay?
Right.
It funnels down. There's only, so everybody is racing to get out there to that road. It is a major problem. I'll agree 100%.
They're turned out to school,
Yep.
coming up, going out 1600.
Just as,
Right.
it is.
Right.
And you know what, a lot of the wrecks on 313 are Meade County Bank, Flaherty School, right here at Rabbit Run. Those are the three major ones on 313. You know, some people say, well, it was overlooked when they developed, you know, when they made the road plan, whether it should have been a turn lane there, a light. The state will not fund any money for a light. And like, because we went to the state and thought about putting up caution lights at each one to get people to slow down. I think the last report we got back from the state, Judge, he might better answer, I can't remember whether you was in on this. They will allow us to put the light up. We've got a fund to put the light up, the electricity, the whole 9 yards for that. So that's something that I don't know, we're going to probably have to look into to get people to slow down. You know, these areas, when they come to them, you know, like Meade County Bank, you got somebody going 80 mile an hour. There's no turning lane there. As soon as you stop, you're rear-ended, because you cannot stop from here to the back of the building at 80 miles. 55, it's iffy if you're going to get stopped. So
There's a turn there anyway.
like I said, I mean, I live here too. I know these are three major points that we have problems with on the road. And like I said, Officer Wimpy has sent those deputies up working. I wish he could work them around the clock, but I mean, they got a life too, you know. So, I mean.
You know, bringing up the areas is important, because that's one of the things we can do and bring back and get, you know, again, get with Sheriff Wimpy and find out what the schedule is. Not that I'm going to post it, but, and sometimes, you know, just putting a car out slows people down too. So there might be some alternative ways that we can get people, you know, to slow down. I know one of the things on the speed identifier, the way they're looking at that is they'll put the speed identifier up, and then they'll have an officer down. And the way they look at that is you got your warning when you went by that. So you're getting a ticket now. So I know they did that on the bypass. It slowed down people for quite a while, you know, until, again, presence wasn't there, and then everybody goes back to their own habits.
I wasn't going to say anything about this. It has nothing to do with anything you can do anything about right now. But more police on the road is not going to solve some of these inpatient. People have no respect for each other anymore. It is a mentality that is growing and growing across the country. I mean, that's why we're short of police officers. Who wants to deal with these people? They're just a bunch of tyrants that like running over everybody. But the thing that solve a lot of problems is if our legislators get on the ball and make Kentucky's one of the few states that you can't write a ticket over a camera. Mm-hmm. If they had cameras up there at 60, I mean, I'm not a betting man. Up there at Highway 60, 313, there's numerous times a day that I'm through there a lot. I see that light turn yellow and then red, and there's 4 or 5 more cars, one right behind the other. Yep. They don't stop. I'm not going to stop for that. You know, I'm going to go right on through because I'm right behind this guy. If our legislature would pass a law and we would get a KRS where they could write tickets for that camera, there would be a whole lot of people fined up there. That
And it makes stupid go away.
It would make stupid go away. That's exactly what I was going to say.
To a point. To a point. But no, I mean, that's a great idea, and I agree with you. I think, you know, one of the things that, and I am on a number of the road department boards, and I've gotten on those for specific reasons so I can better represent us when it comes to getting the dollars to improve our road network. And one of those, so the projects that we currently have that are, out of the 11 projects, Meade County has 4, Hardin County being the size that they have more. But we've got the 79 project up to Midway. It's pretty much approved. They're already going out and doing the buying of property and things of that nature. The second part of that is from Midway to Irvington. And so that's the second phase 2 of that for widening and everything else, which that's an enormous problem on that one. A lot of people have died on that one. And then the other one I talked to you about is about the double lane or the passing lanes from Hardin County up to 60. I didn't heard anything more from 60 above. And then one that I brought up because I was extremely concerned about this and have been a part of it is, our road network on a quote-unquote bypass that no longer can be called a bypass. Okay, it doesn't meet the definition. But, there's an extreme safety issue, and I brought this up to the highway department when I met with them on the 79. And Nancy Kate was there, and Steve Meredith was there, and we asked them to look into it. But, what our traffic is like from 1638 all the way really to 79 highway. And so they started doing a study. It's significant. And most of the accidents are actually from 933. Exactly. When I say this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. 933 to Old Ekron Road. 75% of the accidents are right in that area. And so they're looking at moving that up. There's a process called a shift. And we've gone ahead and we've put in our requirements of where we think that they rank order. And then what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll move those up from the state level for funding. And when I've been selling on this one and where I've been pushing is it's a safety issue. I mean, it's a significant safety issue. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. And we've had a number of people die on that one, and if you saw as many accidents as that, it's just horrible. So anyway, so that was one that I felt very, very, very good about, that we were actually able to get that, actually created and pushed into a project within, 2.5 months, because I happened to hit them at the right time. So anyway, so that's a plus. So those are 4 projects that I know are on the board that are going forward, for funding from the state level. And then we've got some other projects that we're looking at, we're trying to put in for grant money to go ahead and these would be county roads. And again, getting with our county road manager, and he knows where those bad ones are. They got to be high traffic ability, and we can get what they call discretionary funds. We got to put in the information. So it's the thing that I'm finding out is it's just like everything else. If you don't put in, you're not going to get. And so we have to make sure that we do the work in order to get those resources. And so that's where we've been pushing real hard on everybody, is to make sure that they meet the grant timelines, meet the requirements to get in, and you've got great people that are working for you. I've been really proud of everybody that I've come into contact with. Everybody's trying to do their best. It's just a matter of organizing it and getting it so that we're tracking it and we make sure that we're not missing. And so I think we're going to do better in this next coming year. Hopefully that answers some of your questions. Yes, ma'am.
I have a PBA question for.
Whew, I'm off the hook.
Not because I want my property taxes to go up or anything, but I happen to sit between 2 pieces of property that either. Huh?
It's being recorded live.
Oh. That need to be condemned. They've been vacant for a long, long time.
Talking to Mike.
And being as summertime is coming, it's going to be overgrown and it looks worse than it does now.
Planning and zoning, where's it at?
So.
Where's planning?
the
You got planning and zoning back here.
The road, Woodland Road, because there's no culverts, and I've talked to you about this, all the water from Woodland Road, because I live on the downside of the hill, runs through my property and is creating a new creek bed. In essence, that's what it's going to be. Because we have filled it in with dirt, and the next rain, and granted, it only happens twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. But twice a year, we fill it up with dirt, and the next rain, when you get 3 or 4 inches, it's down again.
That's more a question. That's more a question for planning and zoning. But I do think it is a concern, with some of the properties in the county, the impact that has on their resale value and their property values. But abandoned property and
These properties have been vacant for how long?
So that would actually fall probably, it would really fall to me and planning and zoning. And how that is, So planning and zoning has got a system going now where if there's a nuisance or abandoned property, okay, and a lot of people's asked, let's just go ahead and get it on the table. St. Martin's Road right across from the church. Let's just get it out here, okay? That is being worked on, okay? And some people says, well, you ain't got nothing done yet. Well, have you go knock on the door, it ain't there, okay? So getting a hold of these people is hard. So I've talked to Guy Garcia, Chris, Andrew is our code enforcer, okay? He's doing a great job. So what I've brought up the idea to them is, so if nobody's home, you knock on the door, you've sent a letter to the address, it comes back. So I'm wanting to get like a yard sign type thing. I brought it up to them where it can be posted in their yard. They have 30 days to get in contact with planning and zoning to get this issue resolved. So what that does, and it's what the judge has said since he got elected, he wants to be more transparent with the voting people, taxpayers. It would allow you to see the sign in the yard, okay, that's being worked on. Because that actually projects have been worked on for the last 3 to 4 months. We're really nowhere with it because we keep getting the letter back, okay? Well, I wish. So that is a resort we're probably going to look at. Now, there's a 3-panel, so let me fast forward here a little bit. We have just put a 3-panel board.
So this is, just real quick, this is an ordinance that we have worked on, I mean, extremely diligently, okay? And we just passed it, right? And there is a code enforcement board now. There's a code enforcement officer. And we wanted to make sure that, you know, before we just let this go, you know, rampant, that we actually looked at, again, protecting people's rights, okay, that it was done correctly, it's done methodically, and it's done fairly. And so the ordinance addresses all those. And then, you know, like what Billy was saying is that, you know, where there's a complaint, okay, so this isn't something we just go around and say, let's go pick this one. Oh, by the way, we don't like how your property looks. Again, it needs to be a complaint, okay, and that's when the code enforcement officer goes out and makes contact with the individuals. Then we try to the best of our ability, work with the individual to correct the problems. That may be getting a free dumpster out, to be able to put garbage into, blah, 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 down the line. And we try to do everything we can to work with the individual to try to improve their property to meet the you know, the standards. And then it keeps on going. If they're non-compliant, they don't want to work, then it continues up and it goes to, they receive fines, and then they go up in front of the code enforcement board. And the board then looks at them and determines what they need to do to whether they're going to be fined and how much they're going to be fined. And meanwhile, the magistrate's always involved with this whole process as it goes all the way through. So the magistrate is actually representing the individual that's been complained on. And then we felt that we needed to be able to do that so that the rights of an individual are also taken care of too. As much as they may be crossing the boundaries to other people, we want to make sure that we're not infringing on somebody and that they have the resourcing to be able to take care of it, because somebody may not have the money to do it. So Andrew works very diligently to try to find all those areas. Now, in this case, I don't know the specifics. Billy, you seem to know a little bit more of the specifics. It might be a tougher situation, and it may have gone up a few different levels. And I've got, Billy, you're familiar with it, and I've also got Guy Garcia in the back from Planning and Zoning. You know, if we like to answer, ask any more of those types of questions.
I know my situation has gotten so bad that I had to put rat traps on the outside of my house, because when you have vacant property that's not lived in, other things want to live there.
And so that's all, and again, that's all part of this ordinance, to include that, if there is a sanitary issue, again, we can get the health department to go out too. And so that, there are certain resources that we don't have the ability to do. And we want to be real careful about going to anybody, a person's property. If you're living in the property and there's complaints, to go ahead and say, well, we're going to condemn your property and we're going to take it from you. That's not really the county's right. I don't believe that's the county's right.
I don't pay my taxes there 20 years.
But we try to work with the individual to the best of our ability. I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
The property you're talking about is on the curve, okay? So
Well, it's that one and then the one below me.
it's on. Am I dead? I ain't close enough? So that particular piece of property there is another prime example where the sign in the front yard. So look, at some point, it would help because you can't catch them at home, okay? And you do see them every now and then come by, okay? Me catching them there is like 1 in a million chance of doing it, okay?
Call you when he's home. I can see his house from mine.
We solved this problem.
I love phone calls, okay? But planning and zoning, I'm just telling you, they are working really, really hard at this. They're improving every day on how they can, and this is maybe one tool that we can bring forward with. Because look, like Guy said, you know, if you put the sign in the yard and you post a picture, okay, it's on there, they can't say, well, there never was a sign in my yard, okay? But like right now, when we're mailing something out to them and it gets sent back, you know, we're not getting anywhere. So, and we have, and it seems like I do have more in this district than maybe some of the other matches. Some of them's got it pretty good. Some of them's got it worse than me, okay? But that is one prime example. The St. Martin ones is another one. You know, when there's some we get complaints on that is neighbor nagging the neighbor type thing, and I usually go out and look at that, and I say, look, I mean, really, it's a lawnmower sitting on the front yard. Or a derby car or something like that. That's the ones we say, okay, there's no action to be taken, but there is some that is really bad that need some attention. And I'll be honest with you, I would love, and I'd like to work with planning. Instead of putting more subdivisions in the county, I would love to see these places get, you know, if they're not going to do nothing with them, sell the property to a builder, get the place cleaned up, build a new home there.
Well, that's what we were in the process of doing. He bought the property and then there it sits.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything with it. It just.
And to add my perspective on this as well, we see a lot of these homes that the owner of these homes do not live in the county. They live in Lexington. They live outside the state a lot of times. So maybe they inherited the homes and out of sight, out of mind, and it's become a problem.
Yeah.
And you know,
This guy just lives up the road from me. So I
yeah,
know.
he's there. It sounds like, but you know, in a time where the demand is so high for homes, you know, some of these properties, I guarantee,
Rent this place out easy.
investors would love to fix them up
He's
and sell
rented
them.
out a trailer that was put there in 1960 something. That it's just a mess. It's an abomination that anybody would even live in.
And that's kind of one reason with the 3-panel board, when it gets to that far, we're hoping they'll put enough pressure on that property owner. Maybe they'll just go ahead and sell it to keep, exactly, and get a nice home built back in those spots. If you look through our district, just this district alone, and count the vacant homes that nobody's in that are, there's a lot. And you could save 2 or 3 subdivisions by doing that through the county. So I'm with you, okay? So I'm not against you.
Rats are not my best friend, and I know they're eating the rat bait because the man comes every other month and fills the rat bait.
So the new ordinance that the judge was talking about, so the new ordinance you will need on that piece of property, we need to get up to date on it, okay? Because back when we had the issues with it, we didn't have. So right now you'd have to go to planning and zoning and you fill out a form, okay? You will have to put your name to it. That is, now just so you know, and a lot of people don't, we don't give that information out. We do not.
Right.
But it is open records. So if they want to go down there and they want to find out who filed the complaint, they can dig deep enough and find it. But we do not share, when we go out to that person, we do not share any information. Planning and zoning, it's all confidential.
Yeah, I understand. I'll do it.
Well, and again, I appreciate you bringing up the issue, because the only way we can take care of problems is if we're aware of it. You know, I may not have the solution set right now. That's the best solution I can give to you right now is that we do have, again, the code enforcement officer. We've done a lot of good diligence. Our magistrates have spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we've looked at all areas of that ordinance. And in fact, we pulled that ordinance back when I came in because it wasn't right. And we want to make sure that, again, it's fair and reasonable for everyone. But again, Billy gave you the right answer. Go down and make a complaint. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I know. It's Guy Garcia from Planning and Zoning.
The judge just sworn in, actually the panel
I'd also point out that the waste disposal also has a program for homes that need to be cleaned up to drop off a container to help get those homes cleaned up too, correct?
Yeah, we mentioned that. So, did you have something, Sydney?
I was just going to make a comment to your property tax issue, because that came up for me the other day when you stated, you know, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to get foreclosed on. Someone called me in a similar situation that you all were in, and the property taxes weren't paid. And they said, what if I go down and pay them? And I said, well, then you would be the owner of those property taxes, and then you would have the ability to foreclose. Because property taxes are sold, I think it's once a year. Am I right about that? So not all property taxes are purchased. And as the county, we don't go around foreclosing on people that haven't paid their property taxes. But companies, a lot of the times, will buy, or individuals, maybe in your situation, property taxes. And that kind of gives you an interest in the property. That's just a suggestion. But someone had that the other day. There was a vacant piece of property. It was driving them nuts. And they said, well, what if I go down to the courthouse and I buy all their delinquent property taxes? I said, well, then you have an interest in the property and you can foreclose, and it would get sold at the courthouse door. That's what happens when you foreclose. So you just had mentioned that, so I was going to say that we're not, our ordinance does not allow us to condemn property unless it's vacant. I think I'm right
That's
about
correct.
that, because we went by.
That was something we came back and we changed.
Yes. And so if it's a vacant piece of property, we would have the ability to condemn, but otherwise we don't. If someone's living in that residence, then we do not.
When you say piece of property, does it have to have a house on it?
No, this house, this piece of property that this person called me about, it was a lot in Doe Valley. There was no house on it. Okay? But you still have property tax. Yeah, you still have property taxes. So I was just going to tell you that because someone else called me about that the other day.
Okay. Let me move on a little bit. I mean, it is 8 o'clock. I want to get you out so everybody can get your beauty sleep later on. But one of those one of those areas that we've also looked at, and with the help of the magistrates, is we're looking at our animal control. And so we've set up an animal advisory board that's looking at our animal control of how do we do things, what are the changes, adjustments that need to go on to make our animal control better. You know, what my goal is that, you know, eventually we'll get into a new building, and that we will be able to move our animal control to also with our road department, that we'll move them to a new site, you know, down the road. But the thing is we've got to have an animal control that's functional right now. And right now what we're doing is we're going through, the advisory board is looking through, making sure that, you know, all the requirements are met, certifications are there, we're using the proper intake forms and everything else. So that's kind of going on right now. The board's met now twice, so they're fairly new, but there's been there's been some adjustments that are being made, and so we're walking down that to try to make our animal control a lot better. All right, so I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on that. There are some things that are going on here in Meade County. We have the grand open and ribbon cutting of the new maintenance building at Meade County Olin Park. That'll be on Tuesday, March 28th. And that's a big deal for those of you that have been here for a long time. Again, they were working out of some pretty austere environment, like no heat, no, you know, blah, blah, blah down the line, no bathrooms. And this building has been built, and we want to introduce it to the public. Okay, so again, that's something to be proud of from Meade County. We also have the Buttermilk Falls Day. That's going to be on April 22nd. If you've not been down to Buttermilk Falls, there's been a lot of work done on Buttermilk Falls. It's really something that we need to be proud of. It's a great place to go, spend time. It's relaxing. If you want to sit in you know, some benches or whatever and just listen to the wildlife. And that's a joint operation when we're talking about, you know, working with the mayor. The city of Brandenburg takes care of part of that, and the county takes care of part of that. And that takes a lot of load off of our Parks and Recreation because we got a lot of parks that we take care of. So I was appreciative to the county for that. We have, yes, Meade County, you know, but you'll be 200 years old, okay? Whew, I feel old. Anyway, on the 23rd of December is when our bicentennial is, but we're going to be actually celebrating our bicentennial on May 20th down at the riverfront. It'll be, we're going to have a big party. There'll be a lot of events going out, and I think it'll be really a great time for everyone to come down and celebrate our 200th year anniversary. They're working on them right now. Yeah, they're working on the sidewalks right now. They're working on the road going down. So what's supposed to happen is the sidewalk's supposed to be completed on one side, and then they'll have the road going down. That'll be repaved down to a certain point. And then that is actually, the state is actually doing the road, and then once it's completed, they're going to turn it over to the city. So it'll become a city road from that point on, but it'll be brand new. So that was a win-win for everyone in that.
Yeah, but by May?
That's what they're telling me. They're working on it right now.
The Chamber of Commerce said at their meeting earlier, last week, that only handicapped are going to be able to
Go
ride
all the way down.
That there's going to be a park and ride for everybody else.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
And that's true. I know that they were planning, and that's one to keep a lot of the traffic down too, going through there. But yeah, they'll do their best. I know they're working on it because I see that all the road department stuff up. Let's see, what else? Okay, I think that should be it on my side that I wanted to get out on information. Anybody have any questions that that we did not maybe hit? Boy, we did a great job. No more questions? Oh, sorry about that.
Is there some kind of an ordinance in Meade County for you buy property that's less than certain, like less than 2 acres, how many animals you can have on that property?
Yep. You got it.
Hey, so I called the judge today and I said, Judge, just a few things you might be aware of. You're going to find out when you come to Flaherty is a few issues. And at the store yesterday, this got brought up too. So as of right now, the property you're all speaking on, there's a few of them in the district. They are not breaking any laws, okay? So we have to change our ordinance, okay, to fix this problem. I will tell you something. Since he's been our judge, he has dug in. That ordinance is coming. We just ain't got there yet. I will tell you that, okay? He has been digging in ordinances and making sure, look, these things are outdated. Times have changed. People's moved in that wasn't born and raised here, that want to be farmers on an acre and a half, okay? And they got enough cattle, horses, sheep, whatever you want to call on that piece of property that should be on 100 acres, okay? So it is issues, and we're very aware of it. But I'm telling you, he has got so many fires lit now, we've got to get some of them out before we open another can of worms up. Man.
Yeah.
And that ordinance there is going to take work. It is. But it's not something, look, I drive by it every day, so I'm well aware of it. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Because one of my property lines runs, the fence is there. And I have to look at my kitchen window and I back that every day. Can I put up a row of trees or something, 3 or 4 feet from that fence so I can block that view?
If it's on your property, yes, you can.
Don't.
You have a.
I don't have to do anything because of them. I can do whatever I need to do as long as it's on my property and I'm not infringing on it.
Yeah.
I would say the best way to answer that question is before you do anything on your property. Joe, I'm keeping her out of trouble. Just contact planning and zoning and make sure nothing you're doing is wrong. Because some people buy little sheds and put them up, think they're in no wrong, okay? They should have had a permit. They put buildings up. They should have had a permit. If you want to do anything on your piece of property to stay out of trouble, the best thing to do is all you got to do is call planning and zoning, tell them what you're doing, and they're going to tell you yes or no, or you need to come in and get a permit. Joe, I just want to be safe. Hey, I just want to be safe, okay? Okay,
Well, the
so
PVA can come in there and tax
hold
them on those,
so,
right?
So planning and zoning has been there, okay? I don't know if I can. So I can't comment, but there was a violation, okay? They've got to get that addressed, okay? Huh? I just followed this morning. Okay. So planning and zoning has been there, okay? So we are working on it, okay? That's all I'm going to say on that. But
And again, it comes down to, on some of these issues that you're talking about, the first step is to make a complaint. And then we can actually go out and evaluate it and investigate it and make sure that there actually is something wrong. Billy brought up an issue with the ordinances. And, one of the things that we found in ordinances is the ordinances are all carried, every ordinance that's ever been written for Meade County, okay, is in the clerk's office. Okay, they're in a book. They're in multiple books. Okay, but when you come and you look and you ask for an ordinance, there's no filing that you can go into and find that ordinance. So we're in the process right now. And we will tell you that, our Judge Executive's office has gone ahead and I think from 2012 to 2009, we've actually scanned all the ordinances that have come into effect since then. And they're actually in the Judge Executive's office. If you need to get a full copy, we can give that to you. And we can actually cross-reference because it's actually on computer. The county clerk is in the process, and I've worked with her last week, and we were looking at a bid to bring in an outside agency that will scan all of those documents that are in those books to get them in electronic filing so that we'll be able to look at all the ordinances and be able to track. And we were going through the road ordinances today. Oh my God. And this is, again, looking at an ordinance that we're trying to make as fair as possible to all residents, but specifically when we look at a lot of residents that moved in before 1998, these things called private roads, we're trying to make it so that people have the capability, okay, to be able to get the road in. There are some requirements. I can't just say, well, I like you and I'll take care of your road and we'll accept it. There are still some requirements, but what we've done is we're trying to reduce those requirements so that people on that road can bring it up to a gravel perspective and it doesn't have to go to a chip and seal or to a tar. That's what the old ordinance was. And then also make a payment method that they can do. We're able to get the county to be able to go in and do the work. So, I mean, we've tried to make this as fair and as reasonable as possible to take care of as many roads as we can to make it acceptable for people and affordable. And so that's one of the ordinances. We ain't done with this one yet. But we had I want to say there was six different ordinances from going way back that we were pulling out, and we're going to send a whole bunch of them, and we're making it into one ordinance. Again, so that, again, ordinances should have the capability to be able to be pulled, and it should have all the information we need in order for somebody to be able to tell what you can do and what you can't. And it should be simple enough to read and be able to be resourced. So that's kind of the way I look at ordinances. I'm going to go ahead. I probably didn't answer your question. That's why you still got your hand up.
No, I think I'm not the only one in this situation in this county. Now, before that happened, we bought the house. We bought the McLean house, fixed it up, and all that good stuff. But if that Meade County Zoo and the Meade County Auxiliary dump site was sitting next door, she would have looked at me and says, "No way in hell we're buying this house." So if I'm sitting there, if I have to try to sell that house for whatever financial reason, nursing home or whatever, we're not young anymore.
Right.
I'll play hell selling that house right now. Period.
So you're exactly right, and every magistrate that's sitting here and that ain't here are very aware of this problem, okay? Because you're exactly right. You couldn't sell your property right now to save your life. We understand that, and it's not fair to you all. It is not fair to you. And going back to planting the trees, maybe I exaggerate a little bit calling planting and zoning, but if you do plant a tree, just remember, if it grows on your neighbor, okay, the limbs, that neighbor has the right to cut to the line, okay? Because some people get in a fight over their neighbor over the tree. Well, if that limb grows over, you have every right to cut on the line, okay? Yeah, and another thing that people, when they plant a tree, I mean, this is something, common sense, look up. If there's a power line, telephone line, don't plant it there, because when it gets up high enough, they're going to come and cut it. So, I mean, just look out for things like that, and just remember, if your tree gets a little bit older and you go yelling at your neighbor because he's cutting the limbs off of it, I mean, if it's on the line, he can do what he wants. So you're better off, instead of 3 foot, the 10-foot rule is really nice. I know it's on your property more, but the 10-foot rule is nice. A lot of our building offsets and stuff like that are 10 foot, ain't they, Guy? Oh, I'm sorry. See, I was wrong again. So, hey, I'm wrong a lot, but
Anyway, anyone else? All right.
If I
Going
may,
once.
this is the Meade Truth. It's on Facebook. You can like and share, but if you wanted to watch it played back, you can see that. It was live streamed, so you could see all of this, and so everybody else in Meade County could see it too. So, like
All
and
right.
share.
Again, thank you so much for everybody coming out. I really do appreciate your time and asking some great questions, because I know that you got me on a couple, which I didn't know, again, it's all about learning. You can't fix something that I'm not aware of. And I can't look at something that I don't understand or don't know about. And so I appreciate everybody, in this, bringing out those issues and concerns, and we'll do the best we can. And if I didn't get you the right answer, please, again, see Tammy at the end, and we'll make sure that I get you an answer one way or another. That's all right. No, that's what I'm here for.
Can you say you're wrong again and we'll record it for Melody?
Thank you guys for coming tuning in and watching us tonight. This has been the Meade County District 4 Town Hall from District here at the Meade County, or the Flaherty Firehouse over here.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for showing up and thank the judge for coming out here. I'd like to see this happen more often.